let me try to see if I can make the post.
Okay.
Okay, right. So on our Facebook group, can you see anything?
I shall check. Yes, yeah, it's there.
Okay. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But assume we're live.
I shall check.
Okay, we're live. Cool.
Right. Okay.
Cool.
Just gonna.
I've pinned it.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So technically, if anybody has tuned in now, we're not actually live. So we're going to waffle for another 3 minutes.
There aren't any watchers according to the live stream.
We've literally been on for 30 seconds. Don't kill us already.
It's fine. It's okay. I'm just looking at the show notes.
Are you looking at it in the group, Sam, or are you looking at it on actually YouTube?
YouTube. Well, I'm going to go back and have a look at the group to keep an eye on the comments, so I can
Yep.
let you know about any comments that are posted if you need.
Just a quick note. On the what was I going to say? On the YouTube stats, sometimes it's not live until quite a while. Sometimes it's quite accurate, but sometimes it takes a few minutes to. Okay, so we've got 2 minutes. And
Do you have the option to change the thumbnail, Michael?
I don't. I probably do. I think it's the same discussion that we have had before.
Okay.
I don't want to go into any tabs because we're live and it's
Yes,
better to
okay.
focus.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Have you pinned the post?
Yeah.
Have you checked if the live stream is working, Rob?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I can see, Sam, I think it's on your screen just then. Did you flick to Facebook?
No.
Yes, I did. I had to
My phone did.
maximize the screen so it looks slightly better.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, so then we saw everything on your screen then.
Oh no! Oh no!
No?
Okay. I think we're almost there. So it's 7:30. Shall we make a start?
Yeah.
Okay. I think, looking at this, there's one person watching. I'm just looking at the stat. It could be inaccurate, or maybe
that could
there's one person up there. It's watching.
Could be one of us.
Anyway, shall we get to it?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
This will stay on the group, will it?
Yes, it would.
Go-
The best way to think of it is we're currently live, but once this finishes, this particular video recording will be on YouTube. We can remove it if we want. I think we can crop it, etc. But basically, what we say, we don't need to record it locally. It's already going to be on YouTube. The reason we chose YouTube is just simpler. Okay. Hey guys, good evening. I'm Michael, and I'm joined by Sam and Rob from the group. And I'm an eBay seller at the moment, and I've been selling full-time for 2 years, mostly to consumer electronics. Rob and Sam, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sam?
Yeah. My name's Sam. I've been selling on eBay for 3 years, and I sell consumable products.
My name's Rob. I've been selling on eBay since 2003.
Wow.
Bit of an OG, but yeah, fairly well. Yeah, it's been quite a learning curve. Everything it's constantly evolving. It's fun at times, challenging at times, but yeah, it's still obviously the best place to sell, which is why we're all here. So just a bit of background. Started the group probably about 5 years ago, perhaps even longer than that now. I forget. I think it was about 2014. I think it's probably about 5 years. Just to try and reach out to fellow sellers that were perhaps struggling in certain areas with certain things that were going on at the time, or looking for tips, looking for support, without going sort of down the calling eBay channel, just to get a feel of how other sellers were coping and surviving at times on eBay. So that was what the group was set up for. Blown away now, we've recently reached 1,800 members, which is far beyond anything I ever thought it would reach, which is quite amazing. Now got Michael, Sam. Michael's a fellow admin now, been a massive help over the last couple of years. Well, probably about 18 months,
Yeah,
Michael?
something like that.
Yeah. Sam's just joined as moderator recently, and Lisa, who's not on tonight, she's also there keeping an eagle eye on the group. And yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's it. I mean, there's other things we can come to as we go along, but yeah.
And I think, Rob, what you add is really quite useful, because I think it's you've seen this from a more historic context than Sam and I would have. So you would have seen how eBay has changed over the times, and hopefully it has grown your business, I think.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it's without sounding stupid, it's very different to how it started, but the core of it is the same. You know, it's still the best place to sell your items. It is very service based now, quality based. When I first started, it was pretty wild. There was a lot of sort of negativity around eBay, and people not wanting to buy there because it was unsafe for buyers, and basically rogue traders. But I think that's pretty much almost sort of gone now, but other people may have some different views on that. But
if I can interrupt, I think I interrupted Sam. I interrupted Sam earlier. Were you going to? Was there anything you wanted to?
I think there's a stigma around eBay, and I think eBay definitely need to try and combat it. That everything on eBay is second-hand.
Yeah.
That is still a big stigma, especially in the area that I live. I've spoken to people and asked their thoughts on eBay, and the general consensus is that it seems to be second-hand items.
Yeah.
And they're quite surprised when I tell them that it's obviously the large majority of things sold on eBay are actually new. But yeah, the thing I was going to say is, on the chat on the Facebook group, we've had a comment from Lee asking who's making the background noise. So there's obviously some sort of interference or something going on.
Okay, Lee, I think I know what that is. To stream this, my laptop is running quite fast to keep the stream running. So I think what you're hearing is a fan, possibly from this laptop. In the future we'll use a faster laptop, but I think for this one, what has happened is running quite fast to keep the stream running.
yeah, just
so basically in the future we'll use a more modern laptop, but it's the explanation is basically we tested everything on this laptop earlier in the week. It worked, so good comment, and I think the audio quality is something we'll hopefully improve over time. Thanks, Lee. Okay. Was there anything else? I think it's good in the sense that you recognize there's a perception that there's a value difference. So some people might not, let's say, necessarily use eBay, let's say, in such a way, let's say, if they really need to trust that transaction. For instance, if it's a birthday present, they really want it on time, and they might, for instance, go to Amazon Prime, etc. So I guess, or maybe if they're not sure about the quality, that sort of thing. So, I mean, there's definitely that concern. I think we'll probably come to that as a separate topic in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I'm conscious of the time, so basically, I think we've got 3 topics. So it's eBay promote your listing. So that's the feature we'll have a chat about. It's not really to promote the sellers, well, promote the features to you guys as sellers. It's more sort of we've been using it for a while, I think most of us, and it's just share some perspective as sellers and what might be in the interest of sellers, etc. The second topic we'll talk about is what the best mentality is when we're competing against other sellers. I think this is a question, I think if I recall correctly, is from Lee, and I think the context here is how do you deal with competition and how do you cope with it. We'll come back to that. The third one is quite similar, which is sales variation. So basically, in some part of the year, you'll notice that your performance of your store might, for the lack of a better word, not be great year on year. For instance, there might be season change, there might be new product trends that you're not able to address, etc. So sometimes some month it's quite slow. So we'll just have a think. Maybe we'll approach it more from the perspective of mindset and how we can believe in or what we do, as opposed to other things that possibly out with our control. Okay, so the first thing, so the eBay promote your listing, has everybody used it here? Just double check for your own business. You guys use promote your listing, right?
Sam, do you want to go first?
Sorry, I had a poor connection issue there. So could you repeat that? Because I missed that bit.
I trust that you guys mentioned. I mean, we had a chat about this previously. That I think you guys use eBay promote your listing. How have you guys found it so far?
Well, I have found it quite useful myself personally. It's basically for the money you pay, for the sales you get, and for the impressions you get. To get that on another platform would be virtually impossible, I think. I mean, as we were discussing before, me and Rob, when we were looking at our statistics, and yourself, Michael, the pure amount of impressions that you get is probably unrivaled.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, personally, we've for the money we've paid in ad fees and the sales that it's returned us, we've personally found it quite helpful.
Okay. And Rob, how about you?
Yeah, I've used it. I think it's okay for what I do. It's okay. I mean, I when we spoke about our conversations and percentages and trending rates and things like that, I'm just testing a couple of bits and pieces and going to give it probably a couple of weeks and see whether that actually makes a difference in sales, which would be interesting to find out. Personally, I think it's a bit of a necessary evil now. I think you do have to use it if you want those sales, extra sales. I think over time, if it's not happening already, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Michael, I'm not sure, but I think if you're not using promote my listings, then your listings may organically just fall to the bottom.
Okay, I think there's quite a few issues there to unpack. So basically, the visibility thing, that's what eBay controls. I think they change the visibility of promoted versus non-promoted all the time. I think they're testing it. I think one of the concern amongst the sellers is basically, why is eBay charging us more for things that really they should, it's that should be part of the final valuation fee. I think this is a slightly nuanced conversation. Basically, it seems more prevailing thought at the moment is that this ads fee it's what helps your item to be seen by more people. Whereas traditionally you just pay the final valuation, you pay to list, you pay for your store subscription. I think this is basically recognizing that's not enough anymore. There's more items on eBay, and now you've actually got to where your margins allow actually go in to sort of accelerate what you can do. And I think for some sellers it's really useful, and I think there's some caveats, which is what percentage do you really use? Do you use the absolute minimum to just appear in the system? But I think we'll come back to this in a second. A really good point, Sam and Rob. Okay, so with regards to seeing this as a with regards to seeing eBay promote your listing fee as a marketing budget. Do you guys think basically that's the appropriate approach from now on?
I think as Rob's mentioned, it's the new thing you've got to do, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously, that's going to have to be budgeted in somewhere, whether it be a hit on your profit or an increase in sales. Either way, it's not great, but if that's what's required, that's what's required, and business is business, and sellers have to adapt accordingly, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
we live in fast-changing times and changing dynamics, and equally, the other way to look at it is that eBay is by no means the dominant marketplace. eBay even itself has to differentiate for buyers' money. So in any given time, it's probably reasonable to assume that there's a fixed amount of people going to eBay being able to spend a certain amount of money in a particular category. So now it's just competing for those eyeballs and etc. It's a changing dynamics, and I think we probably, as sellers, as Sam said, we really need to adapt and look at how best to make use of these opportunities, additional tools. Because literally before this, you can't. If you wanted to pay more, you couldn't actually get more people to see it. So actually, in a way, it's great.
I think if you're in a high competition category where it's quite flooded, I think you have no choice but to use this. Yeah. I personally like to use the mark list. I do really wish that Markdown Manager was still there, because that I used to find that a fantastic tool, and I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. And I do hope they kind of bring that back, where you just blanket percentage off all of your items. I know that there is an extra 20% off certain items that you can use in the Seller Hub, which is good, very good. And personally, I prefer that to promoted listings. I think it's just the category that we're in that.
I think if I can unpick slightly on that last point, I think Sam and I will jump in a second, which is when you have additional costs in your business to sell a product. Let's say you have now a budget for this promotion fee, as in promote your listing. How much of it can you pass to the buyer, or how much of it would you have to absorb yourself? I mean, that's a quite interesting dynamics. I imagine in a in a quite competitive market, you have to absorb more of it, whereas if it's less competitive landscape among the sellers, you can probably pass on slightly more. But I mean, it's an active trade-off in the sense that you ideally want your buyer to have a better price. So in theory, more people buy it, but at the same time, you want to have more people seeing the product. So that means you ideally want to spend more money. So, and all this time, you want to optimize to spend as little as possible. So it's multiple things to optimize for. So it's quite a tricky one. I guess it's one of the things that we have to find a balance. Is that right?
Yes, and also, as mentioned, with flooded markets and quite competitive markets, it's going to allow big businesses to flourish, in the sense that obviously they buy economies of scale, buy in bulk, get items cheaper, so therefore they have larger margins.
Yes. So basically what Sam is on about is the benefit of this particular feature to established sellers and the savvy sellers, which can take advantage of the low margin but high volume scale, which is, I think, for them, it's I mean, that's their core playbook. I mean, they want to be able to have more buying power. And I mean, one of the danger of this is, of course, some of the, let's say, mom and pop shops, that sort of thing, smaller scale sellers would increasingly find it quite difficult to compete against somebody who, let's say, only has to make a penny on, let's say, an item, or maybe 10p per item. But if they sell, hundreds, etc., you'll find in those very competitive field, it will be probably more difficult. And I think the other thing is, basically, if everybody is advertising more and more and more, then what that does is, in a nuanced way, it drives up the trending rate slowly but surely. And if that's the case, if you find that you actually need to spend more money just to be able to compete, then it reduces your margin further. Have you guys had success on not the trending rate, but have you guys had success at lower than trending rate? I'm just wondering.
Well, this was what we were speaking of earlier, and this is what I'm just sort of in the middle of trying out. I mean, I'll have a quick look now and see whether.
Can I just butt in a second?
Yeah.
The last 3-4 minutes of talking, I don't know if you heard what I said clearly, but after I stopped speaking, I didn't get anything. My internet's playing up. So.
Well, you did stop a minute ago, Sam. I could hear you, but visually you'd frozen. So.
Oh, okay. You could hear me then, could you?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Oh, by the way, guys,
okay.
we've got 8 people watching at the moment. So 8 people already. Can you hear me?
I don't think. I think Les has just said that there are people commenting. I don't think there is a chat function on the YouTube page.
Okay, guys, if you're commenting on YouTube, if you can comment on the Facebook group, that'd be really appreciated. In the future will have multiple computers, but at the moment this streaming computer is literally the only screen I can look at, and I think in the future
I can't see any. Yeah. I can't see any comment section on the YouTube stream. Can anybody else? I can't see.
There's not supposed to be a comment section on YouTube, I think.
No, I can't see one.
Okay, if there's any comment, if we can make it in the Facebook group, and we're looking at that group so we can respond. So, okay, if I can quickly look at that group and see if there's anything. Lee has said he made a account on Google, I think, for YouTube. Okay, going back to it, I think what has if I can quickly go back to it, what is quite nuanced about this particular trending rate versus using less than trending rate is actually quite. I think Sam, you've found this so far, I think, but perhaps more testing will give more results. But I think sometimes there's benefits just to use a minimum amount, because as a result, your ads will actually appear on the what's the best way to describe it? The ad system. So even if you, let's say, use 1% strategically on your, let's say, your core products, it's not much, but it's basically what that does is that makes sure that the item could potentially follow your prospective buyer across their mobile phone, their apps, everything else. I think that's quite useful. What we did find is that in the month that where we were traditionally slightly slower, more percentage of our sales was through promote your listing. So I guess I would never know if those buyers would have bought it if I didn't use it. But I guess that's a dilemma, isn't it? You're grateful for the order, but you're not quite sure. Sam?
Yeah, guys, Les has just commented with a screenshot saying there is a comment chat, and as I can see from the screen, yes there is. But also we've got 2 comments. Graham Nichols, surely if everyone promotes their listings, then in effect the whole thing is negated, so only eBay benefits from the additional revenue. In that case, it requires sellers with deep pockets. And also another comment from Colin Byrne, promote your listings feature doesn't really work, it's all about price. If people search for the cheapest item, that's what they'll buy, I think.
I think that's a fair point, Colin. Yeah.
I think also just to, it's a really fair point. If I can unpick it slightly, it's a nuanced one. You will see the trending rate, and I think if you're really focused on your category, you can keep an eye on the trending rate. Sometimes it increases quite a bit, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it actually reduces. And yes, if everybody uses it, it becomes more less effective. It's a bit like the antibiotics sort of thing. It's if more people uses it, bacteria is more likely to develop the sort of resistance, etc. So in theory, it's best if fewer people uses it. But anyway, moving on. I think going back to it, it's one of those incremental things. Yes, eBay has to expand this product, they have to have more revenue from their ads product. But I mean, if you look at the upside, let's say if 2 years from now, if eBay can build a business, I say it's 1 billion business in revenue each year, and that ads business can get them more purchasing power into new ad spaces that we can't access currently with our current budget, then maybe a more finance eBay is actually better. But I mean, my curiosity is basically how much of that money goes back to the shareholder and share buyback, and I imagine that's probably beyond our pay grade. But I think in the short run, we probably have to accept the new realities that it costs more money to sell on eBay, just like it costs a lot more to sell on Amazon. And I mean, Amazon, that's. But yeah, going back to it. Sorry, I interrupted you guys.
Yeah, no, I've got another comment from Les. He said, but what is trending rate? Even eBay couldn't explain how they come up with that figure. 10% of 10 quid is the same as 20% of 5 quid, so who gets to the top?
So basically, it's a really strange one. It's a trending rate. It's like a black box. We don't know how the methodology is. We just assume that it's best. But here's the thing. If you go list an item, relist that old item on your mobile, you actually find your trending rate is marginally higher than if you relist the same item on the PC. So I'm wondering, how is that possible? So basically, I think the answer to that is basically eBay allows private sellers to use this now, I think, but private seller can only list, I think, on their app at the trending rate. So that trending rate is higher. So whereas as a business seller,
excuse me, 1 second.
Yeah, whereas as a business seller, you have more flexibility to set your rate, actually reduce it where possible. Because I mean, you know, in your category, there must be products that don't need that much, you know, ads budget.
I mean,
it shouldn't need that much ads budget.
For example,
I mean, why would you spend 15% of your item?
If you're selling, I don't know, say for argument's sake, a brand new iPhone, new in the box, you're not going to need 20% of.
It's desirable product.
You know what I mean? It's exactly, yeah.
And in your perspective,
there's another comment from Lee. Sorry, go on.
In your I think the overriding interest as a seller is if you can have as many people interested in buying your product as possible. If you can sell it at some, you know, lowest cost in terms of selling fees, everything else as possible. All the while, it's all the while for your platform to succeed. So I mean, we can only ask for so many things, and in reality, we can't have everything we want. I mean, that's probably the message I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I've got 2 comments to read out. First from Lee, the trending rate is the trending rate on my bestseller is 6.4%. I don't think that they even understand how it works. I have a listing at 1% and one at 20% with a higher markup. Still sell the 1% one more, and the location of the sponsored advert is above the 20%. I think that, again, as you've mentioned, Michael, I think it all comes down to the desirability of the product. I mean,
if I can,
and pricing. There's a lot of different factors. I mean, like you see, you've got how much it's desired, how desirable the product is, the price of the product, and what the product is as well. If they're 2 completely different products, obviously that's going to be quite a variation. But also, there's another comment of Graham Nichols saying, if the trending rate differs between the mobile and laptop, it indicates that it's based on the audience size for each platform.
Okay, so if I can go to the first, if I can go to Graham's point, I believe if you sell one product, it's an identical product, no matter what you list on, it should be the same trending rate. You shouldn't have a different trending rate for the same product. That's just, it has got to be a glitch, in my opinion. It's just, you know, you can capitalize more if somebody is selling on mobile because it's simpler. But you shouldn't be able to, you know, as a platform, you shouldn't be able to charge that. That's ridiculous. You should refund money difference back. That's ridiculous. That's just my opinion. I could be completely off.
I agree with that. It shouldn't vary for the same product, not at all.
For the same listing.
There's another comment. Karen Fisher, sorry if this is a daft question. No such thing as a daft question, Karen. But with ads, do you pay only if it sells, or do you pay every time someone clicks on it?
Okay.
Only if it sells.
So Karen, only if you sells. So this is a point I think Simon, Robert and I, we picked up on that. Yes, you can set whatever ad rate you want, but actually the rate you pay in reality is probably marginally less, because let's say 10 products you sell same product, and only 2 of them actually through promoted, then in effect you're not paying the 2%, you're paying less than 2% to secure the sales. So it's one of those what's the best way to describe this no win no fee sort of strategy, in the sense that you only sell if you you only pay if you sell. I imagine, I mean, this is how promote your listing is really it's quite a easy to use, I think, format, I guess. Sorry, Sam, I think there is a few questions I forgot there, and I think Rob is completely bored. Sorry, Rob.
No, I'm just reading the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we've got another comment from Laz. My point is, people might see 9% trending on an item, so go 10%, even though their item is cheaper than one at 9%. So eBay trick you into putting a high percentage on it. Crafty as hell and immoral. I think that it all depends on the individual. If you do that, you haven't done your research, and it all comes. Part of business is all down to market research. If you're not doing the market research and you don't know the product and the pricing strategy, then if you get caught out, is it eBay's fault?
And also, I think I completely agree with Sam. And it's, as a business, you need to minimize your cost leakage. You can't, if you can maintain comparable speed of sales, then you can't give the platform more money than what you can reasonably give them. I mean, okay, maybe at the absolute minimum rate. I mean, this is one point I always sort of support, which is use a minimum rate where possible, like literally minimum. If you use a minimum rate, yes, possibly your your velocity of sales is probably marginally slower. I mean, you can do your testing, but the point is, as soon as you go up in the sort of fees, percentage, you actually effectively you have diminished return in terms of your ad spend. But it's up to you to find the balance on the rates. But I mean, in my opinion, the trending rate is not necessarily a reflection of the actual rate you need to pay. It's often higher, and I think that's probably a sentiment. Also, I've briefly added some notes. It was that promote your listing quick notes guide thing, not a guide. It's just some quick pointers. I've included a link of that in the show notes. If anybody finds that useful, just let me know. I can keep it up to date over time. I mean, it's not to say eBay would make the sort of minimum spend unpalatable. Like, they could just one day say, oh yeah, if you're only paying the minimum, we're going to reduce your visibility. That's not great, but we're using eBay. It's a changing platform, and it's a changing ads program, so we can the best we can do is cope with it, I guess.
We had a chat I think 2 days ago, and we were chatting about promoted listings and changing your percentage and things like that. And from the day that I changed, I've gone down. I was testing. I was sticking to the trending rates, and since then I've gone and put it down to the lowest I can go, 1%, just to see what kind of impact it'd have. And I've gone from 11,312 impressions, and today I've had 5,429 impressions. So it is making a remarkable difference if you are selecting less than the trending rate.
Yeah.
So, Rob, what was that? What was the impressions after you dropped the trending rate? Sorry. 11,000.
11,312 on 26th, and today it's at 5,429, and that's like, so I'm going to change that again on the promotions, and then see if that goes back up, and then if obviously it goes up, then yes, it is making a massive.
I think, have you guys seen
I've had another response from Laz. What research? You don't know what that 9% is based on. That's the point. Also, on 2 occasions, my sponsored listing was bought when my unsponsored listing was higher. That shocked me more. Can I just add something there? Basically, what I think everybody needs to remember also is that it doesn't matter how much percentage you put on this ad on promote your listings. That is just going to, like it says, promote your listing. If the pricing is off compared to your competitors, if the photo isn't that attractive, so you're not going to get the clicks on the listing, there are so many variables that also can equate to a sale rather than just the promote your listing. Really, promote your listing, in my opinion, is just going to generate the impressions. It's the other stuff of the listing that generates the click through.
if I can interrupt slightly, I think Les's point, more broadly speaking, is more about transparency. When you don't know about a company's proprietary methodology, then it's possible to keep stabbing at it, I guess, from my perspective. At some point, as a sort of seller myself, if I'm putting on a less cynical hat, then what I would assume is that there's probably some economics graduate sort of doing pricing in eBay, and they're probably running some analysis, etc. The trending rate is not going to be perfect. It can't be perfect. It's just a guesstimate by them based on their past data. It's up to you to choose a rate that works for you. That's my opinion.
Just going back, sorry, just interestingly again, although the impressions have dropped almost by half per day since I've changed,
yeah,
the clicks actually haven't changed that much.
Okay. And also keeping context, we're looking at this across different timelines. So sometimes in the beginning of the month you tend to have more impression, and it cycles through as people have less disposable income. It depends on your category, and it depends on the external circumstance, etc., of the economy and people's buying sentiment.
I'm going to leave that until for the next few days and going into the new month. Like I say, it's payday tomorrow, so we'll see how it changes.
So we can send Rob a pizza. Okay.
Was that quite a flattering comment?
Okay. There is
lovely
one more
chaps.
Yeah, you lovely chaps. Do you lovely chaps know of if there's any way to promote your listing so it appears in the similar item suggestions, but the sponsored version doesn't appear in the search listing? My products tend to rank fairly high for the best match, so when sponsored, the sponsored listing always appears higher. But I feel this is pointless, but I would still like to keep the listing coming up as a suggested similar item.
Suggested is that separate from the? I
didn't think we had any control over that.
If they were, I imagine, because I mean, search product from these sort of platform company, they tend to evolve over time. Let's say this time, the next year, the eBay promote your listing is probably more advanced than next year in the future. But I don't know. I don't have any of their internal plan. I'm just an eBay seller. So I think as a moment, the biggest feature of eBay, promote your listing is basically it shows up the 145. I think, and it follows you across different devices. I think that's the predominant benefit. It could spill over into other places. So for instance, if you aggressively expand using a strategy, and if you basically prepare yourself for a product launch, then that can give you for short term a better ranking, and maybe that can have ranking implication on other places, let's say on eBay, so it might rank higher, more likely to be showing up in search, etc. But it's one of the things you have to choose your product. You have to there's so many things you can control, and I think the scope of this, you can't control everything with promote your listing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I've got another comment, sorry to butt in quickly, from Les. That's a very good point. Yes, it's all about impressions. I know my sponsored listings do get shown on Gumtree also. There was a rumour that images on Google image search also only show sponsored listings. So are you getting the impressions from just eBay or from all sites they push your sponsored listings onto? Again, no transparency from eBay at all. A lot of eBay sellers in the US have the same worry. Okay, I have read that eBay will... Yeah, okay, I've read that eBay will only... Again, I'd just like to clarify that we are eBay sellers. We have... This isn't anything official, this is just what I've read and heard. I have heard that they will only put items on Google if they have pure white backgrounds, if the titles are not all capitals, and things like that. And there is a certain search criteria that I'm sure none of us will ever know for sure. But that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Also, sponsored.
And going by Sam's point, there's only so many things you can control. White background, great idea. And Gumtree, I haven't seen that much, but I think
No,
they do. I think we can speculate on the myth that happens, but I mean, realistically, we just have to focus on what we can control for our business,
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
definitely.
Your listings do go on Gumtree though, don't they?
It's
I
owned by
can
eBay.
tell you, I didn't know that.
It's owned
Yeah.
by eBay. They
Yeah.
probably, I don't know if they give a certain amount of budget to eBay.
Well, I've seen
I know.
Gumtree.
it's been brought. It got brought to my attention about probably about six months ago, and we actually went and looked on Gumtree and found our items on there.
This is an interesting point. I'm really sorry, guys, that I'm falling behind the time. I'm conscious of the time. Okay, so there's actually this. I think we made a big deal out of this, but we'll probably make this a future chat. But there's different ways actually of using Premier listing, in the sense that you can do it in a stealthy way, as in very low rates, or you can do it in an aggressive way. But it has to fit into your broader marketing strategy. So basically, if you product launching, do aggressively. You know, it's maybe some people I know even do loss leader for the first few items. You know, low price, high ads, everything else. It's up to you to manage your margins and marketing strategy. It helps to think of this as an additional tool in your arsenal for what you can do. It just, you know, you can pay to get people to look at things. Okay. I think if we can quickly summarize. If we can quickly summarize with regards to the risks of this, I think this goes back to the transparency. If you can't see what the rate other people are using, I mean, that's a problem, right? Or maybe it's not a problem. It's just, if you suspect other people are using it, then you'll use it. That drives the trending rate. But is there anything to be really aware of in terms of driving up costs for yourself? It's probably hard to know, right?
Yeah, this is it. I think it's just a very hard one to gauge. As with any business, costs always rise.
Yep.
And this is no different. And I think that if you want to keep selling on eBay, then you just have to absorb it, and you just have to carry on, as hard as that may be, or as bitter a pill that is to swallow. I think that's just how it is, unfortunately.
Okay, let's wrap this particular one up. It's some really
Sam,
useful
some
points.
last comment? What's that?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. It's the same with every type of business, I think, isn't it? You've got to adapt. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same forever. You've got to adapt. You can either mope around and be upset about it, or you can just right. This is what's happening. How are we going to combat this issue? That's the only way to be, I think.
Yeah, just on a sort of last note, again, at this point in time, I think eBay is a very good place to sell as a seller.
Yep.
I've been on eBay before, hence when I started this group, that eBay was very, it seemed anti-seller, very much buyer biased, and I just think, you know, today's eBay is very good for sellers. So
I think,
you know,
this comes
things
back
have
to
rights.
this comes back to a later point as well. We'll look at, which is some fluctuating sales, that sort of thing. How to look at it. But really good point, guys. And some.
Yeah, a comment from Karen. Do you guys think the new policy on location misrepresentation will help us now? I'm quite hopeful it will.
I hope so.
I'm not the
Definitely,
best
I
person
think
to
so.
ask. I know Julius in the group has been very persistent in doing lots of work, which is really valuable, and it's just a massive annoying issue, because if you're getting undercut 20% by people from outside the UK, then I'm sorry, how can you compete? It's a problem, and I think that Times article has really added some urgency, because the wording of that recent Times article, basically pretty much front page, basically location misrepresentation eBay. You wouldn't want to be the company on the receiving end of that, but it's good that they're moving swiftly, and I think looking at some comments from the people, I think such as Julius, I think they find it to be a move in the right direction, so that will be
There's certainly a lot of members in the group that this is going to be a massive positive for.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect what I do, but for the sort of general population, on eBay, it's going to be massive.
I mean, you just
Apart
can't
from
compete against
dropshippers.
20%. You know, it's because I mean.
Sorry, Sam, what's dropshippers?
Dropshippers, I think dropshippers will be hugely affected by this, especially dropshippers that are using Chinese companies to import.
And I think I was having a chat with our marketing colleague today about this, and I think they said they'll probably shift into other strategies such as local warehouse, that sort of thing. But I think the border approach is that VAT has to be paid, and that it's important that if other ways to facilitate that does occur, it has to be cracked down on. I mean, this is just probably a sort of cat and mouse thing. It's very detrimental to home sellers, etc. But hopefully,
I think
it's hopefully
two things.
Yeah.
Two things will happen there. The ones that are not prepared to push forward and go to the next stage, i.e., open warehouses in this country, because that's quite probable.
Yeah, but then they should pay VAT. It's
yeah. If they want to trade here, they need to be here. It's simple, and then the other 50% of that will finish. So I think in the short term it'll be very positive, and then we'll see what happens in 18 months.
And it's not to say that I think also it's quite misleading. Is that if you see something from London, as I said on eBay, if it says I'll be here by next Friday, or by this Friday, that's great. You buy it because of that, and you need to have the confidence that the platform delivers what it says it delivers. And if lots of sellers aren't doing that because they're doing this and shipping from China, then it's just like.
I think though
it's not good for us either.
No, it's not. But if it will still come down to price.
Yeah.
And if you're prepared to wait, however long it will be to get here, then not a lot is probably going to change. But if you want something quick and you think you're going to get something quick, and it then takes 2-3 weeks, then that's not good. But I've brought stuff from China before, and it's arrived in an alarmingly quick time.
But I feel like we should send a note to Julius and etc. Others who are campaigning actively on that particular topic. I know they're very persistent, and we hope that this is a part of the bigger strategy that gradually gets more VAT recovered and paid, etc. Okay, guys, I'm conscious of the time. I'm sorry to keep saying this. Okay, so our next topic. Sorry,
that's your catchphrase, Michael.
It is a catchphrase.
Anyway,
we're going to get some T-shirts with "I'm conscious of the time" printed.
I walked into that one. It's and I'm not going to put a pound in a jar each time I say that, because I think I won't have any money left to list items on eBay. It's just okay. With regards to competing against other sellers, I think this is a question from Lee originally. It's a quite broad question. How do you guys see other sellers, basically? How do you see them as competition, or do you see them as also people also supplying a need?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I see them as competition, but I don't get obsessed with them. What they're doing is their business. What I'm doing is my business, and successful for me and my business. If I spent all my time researching what my competition were doing, then my store would suffer. So that's my take on it.
What I found in personal experience is, if you have, for what I do, if you have something that is either not on eBay, it's rare, you could be the first one, there's no more on eBay, and you think, oh, this is the golden opportunity, so you can put it on at your price. It will literally only be the matter of days or weeks, or possibly even hours, before the next one arrives, and it will be cheaper than yours. Then the next one will arrive, and the next one will arrive, and you'll find that the value of your item has gone like this. So yeah, you do have to look and see what competition are doing, but personally, it's not something that I get too caught up with, really. You have to look and see.
You need to know the market
what
price.
Your items are doing. Yeah, you need to put it on at the right price.
At some point, if you focus well enough, then I mean, the hope is that you can carve out your own niche. I mean, I remember sort of leaving some products. It's not something we sell often, but then we leave the product at a certain price. we don't need it sold that quickly. And what we tend to find is other people, if they sort of enter the market, they peg against our pricing. So sometimes that sort of thing happens. I mean, you can be a price maker or you can be a price taker. It depends on your category. And I mean, generally speaking, I think in competitive strategy, I mean, you can either get there through price leadership, or you can get there by well, differentiation. That's possibly hard unless you do certain very thing that only you can do. I mean, the other thing is possibly focus. If you can really focus on a particular need, I mean, that will be that only you and you yourself can help to fulfill. I mean, that's quite a useful one, but it's hard to focus on any particular strategy. With regards to any sort of do you guys, how long would you say you guys spend each week looking at sort of the market price? Maybe an hour or so, or every day? It depends, right?
Yeah, for me, not so much.
And okay, that's quite a. And what one would really recommend is, if you guys have time, it's a really brilliant book. It's by Michael E. Porter. It's competitive strategy. It's well, it's brilliant. It's Michael Porter is known for his well, it's a very good read.
Is that the 5 Forces, Michael?
Yes. Competitive strategy.
Everybody watching this should watch that. You should have a read of that.
Yeah. It's really useful, and if you don't have the time to get the audiobook or get that book, it's definitely click through to the show notes. There's a brief summary. The best way to imagine this is most people who's gone to business school has learned about this particular strategy, and it's what the MBA types etc. Go by in terms of just a basic approach.
What's it called, Michael?
I'll add the show notes, but it's Competitive Strategy by Michael E. Porter.
Okay. If you search the Porter's 5 Forces, you'll find it.
Yes, it's absolutely brilliant, and it
is very good.
In essence, I mean, it tries to get you to think of the market as things like competitive rivalry. It's a balance between competitive rivalry, supplier power, buyer power, and threat of substitution, threat of new entrants. It's very basic, and I think before the sort of 80s, etc., it was quite hard to quantify these concepts, and I think this book is now in its 60th print, so it's really what's an appropriate word, widely read, and it's a good read. But I think I'm conscious of the time. Stop saying that. Sorry.
Pound.
It's
pound. That's a pound.
I'm not participating in. I'm not participating in something that makes me poor.
Can I just say, for anybody that has joined the chat and is commenting on the YouTube video, if you could go back onto the Facebook page and comment on the Facebook comment that's got the link on it, because we can't see the chat, so we're not able to answer your questions on there.
Oh gosh. Oh, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, there's actually comments there. Wow.
I can't see
any background noise.
Good
evening. Oh. Ooh.
Karen, seriously, make some t-shirts.
Yeah, definitely.
Start some. Anyway, guys, I'm conscious of the time. Just to repeat the catchphrase. With regards to competitors, I guess you have to think about, in depth, you have to think about what need you're trying to fulfill and how you can be more fulfilling of your customer. Because I mean, if you look at companies like Amazon, I mean, they're trying to be the most customer-centric company. So, I mean, maybe not the most emotionless example, but it's basically if you find the buyer often needs faster delivery, then try to see what you can do. If you find a particular buyer has a particular habit, if they give feedback on your packaging, then look at how to improve those. It's gradual improvements. But with regards to other sellers, I mean, Do you guys ever get in contact with any of your rivals? It's like, hey guys, it's any sort of thing I can learn, or is that price collusion?
Yeah,
I'm of the opinion it's
be
best to
careful
leave
there.
them to be and let them be. Sometimes they keep selling, it's for many years, and sometimes they just disappear. But leave them to be. They have
My
their system,
opinion-
and you have your path.
yeah. Like I said, my opinion on it is that's their business.
Yeah.
Whatever price they're getting their product for, that's what they're getting their product for. What I'm getting mine for is what I'm getting mine for. The only thing we have in common is the set price we're selling. That's the only thing I need to take notice of my competition.
If I can segue slightly, I know that Sam is very active in this, which is Sam does some mentoring on the group, and I think often it's with regards to mindset to cope with what's the best way to describe this? A quite demanding market. I mean, it's quite useful to have, let's say, a mentor or something similar, whether it's somebody in the group, whether it's some, let's say, a accountant that you know, or some local business people. It's helpful to be able to bounce these sort of ideas, because I know that as an eBay seller, it's actually quite isolating a job, if that makes sense, because it's like, who can you talk to? I mean, you can come to the group, as always, ask odd questions. We're here for that. But I know that it's isolating, so it's definitely helpful to reach out, because I mean, imagine on Monday getting so many orders, and you sort of by end of the day you're like,
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
Go on,
Sorry.
go on.
So I was just looking at the chat on YouTube, and someone's on there as Michael Spencer, eBay Guru.
Oh, for God's sake!
Yes, he
I
is.
think we know who that is. Who has the
No,
background.
it's not me. I don't. It's basically, I'm of the belief I need to focus on my own company and growing my company. If I believe I can teach that sort of thing in a meaningful way, it would mean that I'm not focusing on what I do well, I think.
Yeah. In regards to that mentoring, there are a lot of people on the group that would be able to get something out of that. As Michael's mentioned, I've got 2 people that I'm mentoring. I can't really do more than that at the minute, obviously, because of time. But I think if you feel that you have a lot of experience that you'd be able to share, I think you should definitely try and go on the mentoring program at the top of the page and put yourself as a mentor. Or if there's certain things that you'd like to try and learn, or you're not sure of, and you're not confident to put it in the group for whatever reason, then definitely take a look and request somebody to be a mentor. I think it'll definitely help you.
If anybody wants to do it, just put your name forward. It's there. If you echo what Sam says, if you think you can help people, which is what the group was designed to be, get your name on there, get involved.
And I think one of the important caveat here is that we always expect you to do your own work, and it's a really good way to get some guidance, broadly speaking, but it's not a substitute to lay your work off on somebody else in that sense. But it's what's really helpful is you can often access sellers in. Hopefully, this is something that increases over time. That sellers that are at a slightly different, hopefully more advanced stage, because I mean, in each eBay journey you go from certain amount of sales to the next level, but there will always be that guy who says like, it's just insane.
Yeah,
so it's helpful.
Just to point out the idea of mentoring, and obviously in the group we don't have certain questions asked, and one of them would be, you don't have a mentor and then say, right, what do I need to sell, or where can I source my stock from, because it's not that kind of thing. Obviously, I'm sure that most of the people that are in this group know this anyway. They've been in the group long enough, and it's not, oh, where can I get certain stock from, because at the end of the day that's just not going to get answered. So if you've got a ready, oh sorry, just lost you. If you've got your business already set up and you think you just need points, the live chats that we had sort of back end of last year, that was kind of a get together and a chat, and I mean, I took away things. I think we all did from that. It's brilliant. So,
and I think to rudely interrupt Rob, I think what we have at the group, we thought the sort of live chat is we have really supportive, really helpful people answering each other's question. But what can sometimes help is sort of adding context. And what Sam and I found really helpful is if we can say, oh, here's a seller who's done this much sales, and how great would it be, as a group member, if they reach certain things at that point. It's you see it as a journey, and I think we hope over time with more of these sort of chats, we can connect more people in a way that's more supportive. Because I know that with traditional Q&A format, you can only go so far in terms of having that genuine connection and people being able to help. But I think the more we can give in the sense of our time to reach out a bit, I think that would help.
Sorry, carry on. No. You finish your point.
So it would definitely help to have a community that's quite supportive, and we usually go for the support. It's the reason we don't really do reselling stuff is just basically we see that as work, and we see this space as something you come ask things in a risk-free environment. But as soon as there's work involved, then it's just a bit like it changes the dynamic quite a bit. But anyway, we hope the group can evolve.
What I was just add to that on a similar note is that there's a lot of other groups on eBay. About eBay on Facebook. Join them all.
Yeah.
Join them all. Join the American ones. Join the Australian ones. Join all of them. Yeah. There's so many out there. It's good to get perspective from everybody. Yeah. And we're just part of
a really good group
movement, really. So.
Just to add to that, obviously this is going to be live on YouTube afterwards. Not live. It's going to be able to be played back on YouTube afterwards. So, Michael, is it worth you putting a link to the group for people who actually aren't on the group but come across the video?
I will.
And like it, it's worth it. Just to let you guys know, Karen Fisher, the group has been invaluable to me and very supportive.
Spot on.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
I like that.
And I think over time will be more. It's just basically hearing somebody and seeing that they're a real person. It's just so different to seeing a sort of Facebook post. And we're really happy that we got this far. And I think traditionally the group has always been really supportive, and we're really happy about that. Okay. I'm conscious of the time. So
should we move on to the last bit?
Yeah, sure. So Rob or Sam, would one of you like to introduce this?
I haven't got it in front of me. I've got the chat up.
Rob?
So basically, we all suffer from peaks and troughs in sales. In the past, there's been rumours of. Sorry, Michael, you all right?
Yes. Yeah, carry on.
So,
the throttling. Yes, carry on. Are we supposed to say that? Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. That's fine.
Well, what was it?
The myth.
The
myth that there is a account throttling, that your sales get chopped if you reach a certain threshold. Some people think it's real. Some people think it's.
Oh yeah, no.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence to support it.
We can speculate with certain reasonable. But we can't,
Well, this goes back further than that anyway, than the recent.
Yeah, carry on.
No, I'm missing the point. I don't.
Okay. No, there is no point.
It's just.
I don't know what it's pulling places.
Okay. No, it's. I'm always very conscious when we sort of go into a quite speculative sort of thing. Sorry, I jumped off. I shouldn't have.
I thought that was what this last section was.
Yeah. Okay. Carry on, Rob. So, what are sort of effects if you have really bad sales? I mean, you still have to pay your staff, you have to make purchase decisions, you have to, you have all the other costs. It just, it makes a decision every day difficult, doesn't it? Like if you're feeling pessimistic today, you're not going to buy as much. If you're sort of, if buyer asks for a refund, partial refund, etc., you're more likely to go unleash and sort of just be less, positive. It's just when everything is going so well, then it feels like nothing can go wrong. But when things are slow, it just really drains. I'm not sure if I'm alone in feeling this.
Yeah, No, I completely agree. But as Rob said,
Yes.
you get your peaks and troughs, don't you? I mean,
And
Yeah, I mean, going like I was talking about before, the rolling blackouts. People used to say there was rolling blackouts, and this was to make way for the Chinese people. You know, eBay switch everybody off and this, that, and the other. I just don't know whether any of that's true at all. I honestly couldn't say, and I don't think anybody can answer that really. But yeah, there's always going to be rumour mills.
definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm sure everybody, if as soon as they start looking at their monthly trends,
yeah.
there's going to be, for myself, start and end of the month is better than the middle.
Yeah.
Now, is that because my particular target audience are more active on eBay at the start and the end of the month? Is it the myth of throttling customers? You just
Payday?
don't know, do you? Pardon?
Payday?
Definitely could be, yeah. Payday.
Well,
There's so many variables.
you can say that the payday that's absolute truth. Everybody gets paid, everybody spends. That's just how it is. So
also sometimes I think it depends on if your product is appropriate at a particular given time. I think we had a chat about this. Not sure if I should say this, but I think basically I think before last January, not this January, we had a sort of quite big supplier that we fell out slightly, in the sense I think we got bought a bit too much from them, and they thought it was better to divert their sales through more sellers. I mean, just managed expectation were tiny, but it's I think that meant, I think for January, February, finding stock, it was just like, it was so hard, and I think our sales just literally, it happens, and it's just, I think it's just have a good mindset and try to see how you can pick it up. It's just,
there's a definite correlation to the more you list, the more you sell, and that is a fact. When you get a lot of a lot of items listed, you will sell more.
Yeah.
More goes up, the more goes out. I think that's just
do you mean quantity available, or do you mean, for argument's sake, if you've got a lot of account activity today, you're likely to have a busy day tomorrow?
we don't use quantity available, so we only use sort of one item per listing, and the more items that we list,
activity on the account then.
It's almost like you're shaking a can and waking it up. You know, it's like that. When the sales start to slow down, then we definitely notice that there's a difference.
I've got a comment from Les. We love a conspiracy. We're not creating conspiracy theories. We're just touching upon what is out there in the public domain, and it's purely our opinion.
That's fair.
But I always get sales when the NHS workers get paid. NHS is the biggest employer in the country.
That's fair. I mean, it's literally one of the things. At the beginning of the month, when you have paycheck, you spend. The second week, you have some, you still have some money you spend. By the third week, you have the
needs, not wants, for the third week and fourth week, isn't it?
By the fourth week, they used to say, there's sort of in the 80s, those EPs sort of, the first week they spend all their, investment bankers spend all their money. The second week they still have some, but in the third week they're sort of, borrowing from their parents, and by the fourth week, oh my, utter misery. I don't know that lifestyle, but it's basically, it's how people manage their cash flow. I mean, in a weird sense, I mean, it is not helpful in the sense that you think about the economy and you think people are sort of living payslip to payslip, but I think that's a big topic. We'll put it aside for a different topic. I think when people have more disposable income and they feel more optimistic and they see, oh, really good photo from you guys, oh, this is the right price, click buy. I mean, yeah. What do you guys think? At what stage would you guys explore the concept of multi-home? By that I mean sort of appear, let's say, on Amazon, other marketplaces, etc. Is there a point as an eBay seller that you actively hop out, or etc., or is it sort of as and when?
Do you mean
cross list?
Do you mean selling over multiple platforms
Yeah.
at the same time, or do you mean just? Yeah, I mean, I think any successful online seller, eBay seller, more platforms, more security.
Yeah, because
More
it's
people.
diverting your revenue streams. Well, you're not as dependent
Yeah,
on single
definitely,
streams. I mean,
definitely. If
The
eBay is 50% of your income and something happened to eBay, you've only lost 50% of your income. Whereas obviously, if it's 100% of your income, you're in trouble, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good idea. It definitely makes sense.
when
Sorry.
So-
This is just a tip, just in case anybody's watching. Just in case there is that 0.5% chance of something happen, don't leave your money on PayPal. Like, we haven't experienced it, but it's like if you have money, it's sometimes better to move it into your bank account, but don't move everything. Because I think PayPal likes to have some money, and also helps to have some balance on your PayPal, so you can do refund and stuff faster. But I think it's just keep a good watch on your cash flow, on what you expect to spend in the next 3 months, and if you can meet it, and have a strategy. Basically, if all the sales, let's say, have a worst case scenario, not welcome, but it's worst case scenario, if your eBay store gets shut, how much cash supply have you got? Is it 30 days, 60 days, and can you push it to 6 months, something like that? That's going to be hard, because I mean, you're sacrificing what you can, by keeping the money not spent, you could be gaining money, but it's just what your attitude to risk is. Sam, sorry, I confused you.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but like I say, I think it's definitely a wise idea to sell over multiple platforms. But obviously, the main advice I can give is don't do anything to get your eBay account banned.
Yeah, no shit. Sorry.
Sorry, there's a comment from Colin Byrne. Absolutely agree about the more you have listed, the more you sell.
Yeah.
Correlates to work harder, earn more. My weekly intake tends to work out at 10% of my total listed value.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And I think eBay also likes also to a larger extent PayPal. They like predictability, whether it's your revenue, your sales, etc. Your ability to list things regularly. It just means that you're a more engaged person, I think. And for PayPal, it's easier to predict year on year if you're consistently sort of, etc.
Yeah. And another point for us to talk about in future videos is, of course, the fact that PayPal might not be with us that much longer with eBay, through eBay then, as a partner of eBay, and obviously Adyen moving into its spot.
Yeah, managed payments.
Is that actually live in America now?
It's a small
I
trial.
think they're trialing it, aren't they?
Right.
Because I think for
So
the next...
I'm sure I've read the trialing, like a beta version, but I don't think anything's been rolled out yet.
Is this an eBay company?
It's so basically the context here is for 2020, 2021. One of eBay's growth area, well, the main one is probably promote your listing. The other one is manage your payment. I mean, as far as shareholders are concerned, that's the main areas of growth to watch for. And I think it's going to create some interesting opportunities for sellers. So imagine being able to use like Apple Pay or Google Pay, that sort of thing, on your phone with eBay. I mean, that's great. I mean, we'll come back to this. I think it's. I think PayPal is not going to be too happy. But I mean, with eBay, PayPal, there's always inconsistency. If somebody sort of, if you win an appeal, we sometimes see this in the group. So which, if you win on eBay side, appeal against something that you decided rightly on, and then you lose it on PayPal, it's like.
Yeah, that's become a real issue now.
I mean, we haven't really seen much of that, but it's just really inconsistent. But I think there's opportunity there. But I mean, one of the question is whether the new payment method is able to match the, let's say, the merchant rate of the existing arrangement with PayPal. Because with PayPal, I think you can get on, is it to as low as 1.4%. I think that's 1.4% advertised rate. I think that's if you do over 50k per month. Then is it 1.9? But I mean, Shopify, they're doing 2.2, I think, percent transaction fee. but it would be interesting to see how they do it, because I mean, when I know that when PayPal first done payment, they had loads of fraud, and I think this was back in the sort of 90s before they got bought by eBay, and they had to come up with all the algorithms, everything else to reduce the cost of fraud. But it's a learning experience, I think, for eBay to do it themselves now. I mean, they always try to do their payment, but I think they never successfully tried to implement it in a meaningful way. It's something to watch. I don't think it's coming into the UK anytime soon. There's possibly trials, but I think, yeah.
Are they still leaving PayPal as a payment option? Are they just sort of expanding?
I don't
Really?
know how much public info is out there. I imagine you might be. I don't know, but I would have to guess.
From
that
what
you
I've
can
read,
use it
it's not.
You can use PayPal through this. So,
Oh, possibly then, yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
yeah, but it's
worrying
only a
thing
guess.
for me-
I haven't read it.
Well, it's not going to affect me very much, but it will affect smaller sellers where
Yeah.
cash flow could potentially be a problem.
Yeah.
Is again all speculation. We don't know until it's out officially. But
Yeah.
I've read that they're going to do the 2-week thing, like Amazon.
Hold your payments.
Yeah.
Christ.
Hold your payments.
Again, speculation. Don't know if it's true. Just what I've
So how
read.
does that-
But I
how
hope
does
that's
that
not
work?
true.
How does that work on Amazon then? You ship your item.
Yeah, you get paid, you ship your item, they hold your payment for 2 weeks to make sure that there's no issues. So if there is a refund or anything like that going to happen, Amazon will give them the refund rather than the seller. When you get the money, your fees have already been deducted,
Wow.
which is what is not happening with eBay, and that's one of the reasons I've heard. When I read, there are a number of reasons this is taking place with eBay. But one of the reasons was to combat the amount of people who aren't paying their eBay fees and the amount of revenue they're losing through that.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, part of Amazon's success in the early days is basically through their negative cash conversion cycle. So basically, consumer pays Amazon, let's say a consumer pays customer on January the 1st. The money clears on, let's say, January the 3rd, but then they pay their supplier, let's say, 45 or 90 days from that point. So they're actually sitting on that money for 90 days. So it's one of those financial innovations that started with, I think, Dell from the 90s, but it's just a bit. I mean, part of this is a transition from a small seller onto bigger seller and gradually a vendor, etc. You find that you deal with billing in gradually slightly different way, because when you deal with business, there's the expectation that it's net 30. You get paid 30 days from the moment when you sell. But I mean, traditionally, when we sell things on eBay, instant, no goods, no delivery. Well, no payment, no delivery. It's as you scale up, you have to look at different payment terms, and it's not always a sort of pleasant learning curve. But I think as you scale up, it's a good problem to have.
Well, that whole scenario sounds horrendous to me, because some of our items are high value, sort of £1,000 plus.
Yeah.
So we've got £1,000, for example, item out,
Yeah.
been shipped, and no money for it for 2 weeks. And I mean, our sector, as most people's sector, is vastly open to scam. Sorry, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? Items not as described, when you know that is not the case. Just basic scammers, and especially I've had. So my sector is car parts, used car parts, vehicle recycling, and I think the worst 2 cases that spring to mind. We had a cabbage in a can of Coke sent back to us once, where it's supposed to be a wing mirror. That was quite hard to take. Ingenious, all the same, but it was quite horrific getting that back. We had a Toyota engine sent back to us when it wasn't a Toyota engine that we sent them originally, but they sent us an old Carina engine where they had I think at the time it was a Mark 5 Golf or something like that, which is pretty new. That was quite bad. And then we had a BMW 1 Series diesel engine sent back without the camshafts and various other bits and pieces on it. So, and we're talking, that was a highly valuable engine at the time, and there was nothing we could do it was a complete manipulation of the returns process.
Yeah.
So to have your item, a high value item, out and not have any money for it at all, that just sounds horrendous.
Yeah, well, I mean, sorry, I may have phrased it wrong. Laz has come to say they don't hold it for 2 weeks. Okay, so basically they pay you twice a month.
Time, you want money before
what you can do is you can request it to be reimbursed or disbursed every day if you like.
Yep.
But if you don't, you just leave it. They pay you twice a month, which obviously works out. They hold your money for 2 weeks. So
right.
that's what
just to say also.
Shame on you.
Just to say also with regards to the eBay managed payment, what they're doing in America is a trial. So it's not when they implement it in other markets, let's say Europe, the UK, etc. It might be different. There might be more features. There might be change. So what we're commenting is we're sort of partly speculating. So it's take it with a pinch of salt. I mean, they're doing it in 2019, but I think they're expecting by 2021. Majority of their orders will be through eBay managed payment, but 2021 we're still sort of 2 years away from that, so it's still some time. Have you guys heard of PayPal rolling reserve?
Sorry?
Have you guys heard of PayPal rolling reserve?
PayPal rolling reserve?
Yeah, so sometimes PayPal keeps your money for maybe up to 180 days, like maybe 10% of your sales, sometimes 20%, etc. Apparently it's a thing. If you're sort of big seller or have some account risks, we haven't really seen that, but apparently it's a thing.
A thing for...
It's basically if you get placed onto the naughty step, or if you have certain risk profile, then a certain amount of your revenue gets held for a fixed amount of time, let's say 35 days, 180 days.
Surety. Like a bond type thing.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Guys.
Yep.
Just quickly, I've managed to actually find the YouTube chat. I know how to get it right now. And there's a comment from a Mike Perry. Let me just make sure this is for our video. Hang on.
Right.
Yes, it is. It is for our video. Mike Perry, hello. Do you still have your turkey racing helmet equipment for sale? You know, the saddle and your lucky crash helmet. You only finished second place last year in the Turkey Racing Olympics. You said you were done with the turkey racing and selling your turkey racing equipment.
How did they find you?
I have no idea what that is about.
What?
Yeah,
I'm
Mike.
confused.
Yes, I have. I've still got it all. I'm gonna let you borrow it.
What? Well, he did have it, but he sent it out. Cabbage and a can of Coke returned.
Sorry?
So he's Rope's
You did have it until you sent it out and got it returned with a cabbage and a can of Coke.
Okay. I guess I don't think we have enough time to do this particular bit of the topic in a meaningful way, which is how to add additional categories. I think we'll do that in the future, more of this expansions of podcast. Not podcast, but just stream, because I feel like when you're doing new product category, you need to do it in a particular way. But anyway.
If we, I think, does anybody else want to add anything else? I think we need to quit while we're ahead.
Yeah.
Because we know what we're like.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of things we can do for the next one, isn't there? I mean,
we've got to talk about service metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, just to add, I think we hope that most people here watching eBay sellers, and if there's any eBay employees watching, we're sorry that we made you watch 1 hour and 20 minutes of this. It's etc. Sorry, but no, I think our core audience is eBay sellers, and we hope that this podcast can, not podcast, I keep referring to it as podcast, but this live thing can expand, and hopefully we can have more people. But the idea is there. You can catch up on it after. Possibly we can even add timestamp, that sort of thing, if you guys want. But hopefully, if you don't watch it live, it's something you can still play back if you're packing things, etc., in the background. Hopefully next time we can have slightly less background noise. I think it's the laptop this week. Anything else, Rob, Sam?
Oh,
Sam?
Sorry?
Sam, sorry, you raise your hand.
Yep. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for commenting and interacting with us and giving us talking points. And I imagine somebody will be putting a post on. Les, go great show. I guess Mike is conscious of time.
Yes,
yeah,
I'm conscious of the time.
I'm guessing there will be a link on the group at some point whenever we arrange to do the next one. So keep an eye on the group for that, I guess.
And if you guys can, if you guys, those of you who have watched, if you guys can sort of reply on the sort of general quality, was there any audio stuttering, that sort of thing, just drop some replies there. It's just we're still looking at how to set up. I think this is okay. The quality will get better over time, but it's one of those things that we can only know what to improve when we know what is suboptimal. Rob, would you like to say any closing words to the group, etc.? And I think you're quite happy that there's some slightly different form of interaction with members now.
Yeah, no, I think it's been good. It's been a good chat. I hope it's been a good watch. And again, you know, the link is staying on the group so people can watch it back. If there's anything that you want to ask or anything in relation to this, just add it to the thread, and we can all answer. So
yeah, and
to the next time.
I think just like you have to sell on multiple platforms, you really should be on multiple Facebook pages, different groups, etc.
I think definitely. I mean, most people are. If they're not, then obviously encourage. There's a lot of other groups. They're all good groups. You can get a lot from everything, really. So.
And also just to say, I think this particular format, this particular setup, Sam, Rob, and I, I think we know each other quite well. In the future, we might have different formats. We might get people on for interviews, that sort of thing, eBay sellers, seller stories, success stories, that sort of thing. Anyway, we're very conscious of. Oh, for God's sake, we're very conscious of the time. Anyway, I think we're going to call it a day. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Right.